Welcome to the Develop Yourself podcast, where we teach you everything you need to land your first job as a software developer by learning to develop yourself, your skills, your network, and more. I'm Brian, your host. Today, I want to go over Business 101 for software developers and talk about 3 critical skills that I see that are important to master in order to not only thrive, but just survive as a software developer nowadays, because learning to code is just not enough. And it hasn't been for a while, if I'm being completely honest. By the way, if you're interested in joining Parsity and taking advantage of our massive discount and working with me one-on-one to prepare for the admissions challenge, you should do that. Go to parsity.io, apply, reach out. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. I can't wait to do this. I'm really looking forward to working more one-on-one with people to make sure that they can pass our admissions challenge and also just set them up for success. I can only take on 5 people to do this. So if you're one of the first 5, I think we have 2 already, then yeah, I'll be happy to work with you. Can't wait. And if you're not one of those first 5, I'll still work with you, just not in the same intense one-on-one setting that the other 5 people will get. Anyway, check it out. Get our last cohort before the end of the year and take advantage of our new cloud curriculum, Python curriculum coming out, which is going to be free for all students, returning students, alumni. Whoever's in the program is going to get access to everything we have. We don't gate anything at all. Anyway, back to the Business 101 topic. 10 years ago, when I started learning how to code, you could write HTML, CSS, some Jquery, JavaScript Lite, and you could basically land a job. You still can. I mean, you can still basically do this. You can still make some money knowing the basics. In fact, I interviewed a guy last week, William Ray, check that episode out, who went from a life of crime into being a freelancer. He also knows Java and Vue and is a full stack software engineer, but he makes his money using HTML and CSS for the most part to make websites for local businesses, specifically ones that specialize in landscaping. Really cool story. If you want a career where you work on interesting problems and are highly compensated, here's the 3 skills you're going to need, which I'm going to outline in just a minute. Unfortunately, I meet a lot of developers who think getting infinitely better at writing React or JavaScript or getting certificates like Pokemon cards will make them indispensable. What is it with the certificates? I mean, I get it. People want that piece of paper because that's what they've been told in school to get. But we'll get on that topic, which I really want to address and make sure that you are not getting these certificates with the wrong expectations. First of all, understand this. Business will always be more important than code. Developers do a lot more than write code. The smaller the company, the higher likelihood that you're going to be working with other teams to figure out the future of the product, responsible for deploying the code and monitoring it, and managing timelines for small or large projects depending on your seniority level. But you will be responsible for some form of project management, almost guaranteed. Imagine this. You're the evil CEO for a large, greedy corporation, which I know that those don't exist. I know most corporations are not large and greedy corporations. They love us, right? You only made a couple $1,000,000 last year, and you're thinking, I got to do budget cuts because of AI or something. Not like this ever happens, but just pretend, right? Who are you cutting from the engineering team? 1, Susie. She suggested and developed a feature that's attracting customers. She works closely with the marketing and design teams. Not the best coder on the team, somewhere along the spectrum of average, a little above average. Or Gerald. He's the lone wolf, super smart nerd, cranks out error-free code working 12 hours a day, just writes impressive, artsy code that regular humans could never aspire to do. I'm keeping Susie. Straight up. If it's a startup, no brainer. Susie all the way. The smaller the team, the more important it is that we deliver products that our customers care about and generate revenue, even if a few bugs slip through. This is a pitfall I see developers get into all the time. I almost fell into this pitfall thinking, I'm going to be the best coder on the team. And that's great to impress your teammates in that small area of the company, the technology area, which in most companies is not going to be the biggest division. And that's great to impress them. But when it comes to the other people that are worried about, money, customers, revenue, things like that, it just becomes a little less of a valuable skill to them. They want code that is error-free, right? Even if they say they don't care, they want code that's error-free. But what they more care about are you building the right things, right? So here's the 3 skills you need to develop in 2024 and beyond even if you're still learning to code, and I'm going to tell you how to acquire these skills, not just saying, here's the skills, you should do that thing. I'm going to tell you some practical ways to actually do it because I love practical things to do. I hate when people just say, you should develop this mindset. Well, how? How do I do that? I'm going to tell you how. Sit back, chill out. Number one skill, develop a product mindset. That's it. Done. Just kidding. Code is only as valuable as the problem that it solves. Leak code, code wars, stupid interview culture has fooled you into thinking that solving these toy problems is an actual high-paying skill. It's a skill, no doubt, and it will actually get you a job, but it will not keep you there or get you promoted. You need to learn how to care about your customer, or at least fake it. If you're already employed, then this is as simple as asking your product team what they're looking at. How are they understanding user behavior? What are the charts and the data that they are collecting and looking at that you're probably not involved in that tell them why you should build this thing? You might want to look at these same things too. Do you have insight? Because you're going to see it from a very different perspective than they are because you're closer to the code. This can be really valuable. This can be your superpower. You're saying, oh, the session rates are low on this particular page, or oh, people tend to bounce from this page really, really quickly. What is going on here? Maybe I can investigate. Oh, we load this crazy JavaScript script on here and it's slowing the page down tremendously. Maybe if we got rid of that, we can increase, customer retention on the website. Check out the error reports. Check out the site metrics using Lighthouse or some other tools online that you can measure the performance of your website and then suggest areas where you can make improvements that the business actually might care about. This may shock you, but businesses like making money and delighting customers in general. If you're learning to code, then when you build your side project, which hint, hint, you should be building a side project, get people to use the side project. You're going to learn a lot more about business than like 99% of developers that build a project, and they only use it to add to their portfolio site. The act of getting customers is going to teach you a ton about, well, how do you market? How do you authenticate them? How do you make sure they actually stay on the site? How do you even measure that kind of stuff? There's Google Analytics. Vercel has analytics. AWS has logs and things you can leverage. But in general, using something like Google Tag Manager can be a really good way to just see, well, how many users am I getting a day? What are the users doing on the site? What can I do to improve the experience that they're having? I have only one user. How do I get 5? How do I get 10? How do you get 100? Do that. Get 5 customers, 5 non-paying customers, or get 1 paying customer. You're going to learn a whole lot about what it takes to run a site or deploy an app as a business, which leads me to skill number 2, developer operations or DevOps light. Seriously, I want you to stop with the certificates. No one cares. If you're truly a DevOps engineer, then yeah, people might care. You might need to get an AWS certificate or whatever your team requires. People ask me all the time about CompTIA certificates or whatever. I'm like, no, Parsity, no, we're never doing that. Ever. Also, if you think you can get to be a cybersecurity engineer making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year with one of these certificates, you're completely been sold on a fantasy. If you're a JavaScript developer, learning how to deploy, roll back, automate code going from your machine out to the world is an actual skill that people might care about. You can learn the basics of this by using tools like GitHub Actions to trigger a build and deployment of your code on a cloud service provider like AWS. Think about how would you roll back the code if an error happens? How do you monitor the deployment? What the hell does a rollback mean? What Git branching strategies make sense for you? Or if you're employed, what makes sense for your team? What are the ones you're using currently? Are they good, bad, indifferent? Do you care? Do you know that there are alternatives out there? Check it out. Just Google those 3 things. How do you monitor a deployment? What the heck's a rollback? What Git branching strategies do people use for small, large, and medium-sized teams? Going down those rabbit holes is going to lead you to a ton of interesting information and help you become a lot more knowledgeable about the software development lifecycle process, and maybe even give you some strong opinions about what you think should be done. You might read one and be like, oh, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Who the hell would do this? Now you have an opinion, and that's good because people want people with opinions about how to do stuff like that because the businesses want their code out, typically fast and typically error-free. That is a difficult thing to promise and deliver, and teams struggle with this constantly, and they're always looking for new ways to do it. And if you figure out a way that makes sense for your team, that can be tremendous benefit to the business, because when you have code on your machine, it's not valuable. When the code is out there getting used by customers and it's not breaking things, think about CrowdStrike, where the blue screen of death just got rolled out. How could they have rolled that back? I guarantee you they have these kinds of processes in place, but it obviously didn't work this time. Huge business hit, right? So imagine that at your business or whatever startup or large company you might be working at, or if you're trying to get a job, just imagine the risk that comes with deploying code. How can you do that safely? There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of ways not to do it. Last skill. This one is my least favorite one that I've had to learn as an engineering manager and as a software engineer. And throughout every stage of my career, I've kind of sucked at this, and I've just gotten better recently. Project management. Developers hate deadlines. I think we all do. Businesses love deadlines. They use them to budget stuff. They want to tell their customers, partners, stakeholders when they can expect that button on the About Us page. It's going to be a game changer for the site. If you learn how to estimate and deliver your work on time, you're going to be in a very small class of developers who can do this accurately. I'm still trying to get there. Maybe 10 more years. I don't know, maybe 12, actually, now that I think about it. There are entire books written on the magical art of estimation for software projects, and you can read them. They might help you. I just think the best way, of course, is through doing so. And you might say, well, I don't have a job. How the hell am I going to estimate a software project? I'm going to tell you. Here's how I've learned how to suck much less at estimations over the years. One, you write out the subtasks needed for the delivery of a feature and make the estimations in half days for every single task, including styling. So for example, if I was tasked with putting a button on a certain page and that button had something happen when you clicked it, I would think, okay, step one, I'm going to need to get familiar with the code base. Maybe that might take half a day if I'm really new. Maybe it'll take a full day if I'm really new and pretty junior, or the code base is significantly difficult to understand. Step two, I might need to actually just create the button and hook it up to whatever API or event that needs to get happened. I'll say maybe a half day. Styling, maybe another half day. Feedback on the peer review, maybe another half day. So they might say, well, that should take you 10 minutes. And I say, well, according to this, it might actually take me like 2 days if we want to get this all the way to completion. And we might have some pushback on that, but it'll give me an idea of how long it will actually take, because people hate it when you say something is going to be delivered early and it's late. But if you say something is going to be delivered later and it's early, well, they're much happier, right? So each day you're measuring your progress against these subtasks, and you see if you're on track or not. And if you're not on track, you raise your hand and say, hey, I'm a little off track here. I think this might be late by a day or 2 days, or we've greatly underestimated this, and this looks like it might be a full week. People aren't going to be happy, but they'll respect you because at least you've told them. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a meeting in the morning and I'm like, okay, cool, we're ready to launch this thing, right? And the engineer's like, not quite ready. I got a few more things to do. I'm like, well, why didn't we know this? Constant source of frustration, confusion among the team. And then the manager gets yelled at, and guess who they're going to yell at next? The person that made them look bad. Not a great career move. It can actually be one of the things that gets you fired at the end of the day. You do this enough times, you lose enough trust, people don't want to keep you around. Next, you want to write the actual time next to your original estimation. So if you thought it was going to take 2 days and it took 3, write down the actual time. If you thought it was going to take 2 days and it took 1, write that down. At the end of this project, use the adjusted timelines, the actual timeline for each task. And this way you can more accurately figure out the next project you're doing. So if you're doing something similar, which you almost always are, you can look back and say, well, we thought this was going to take 1 day last time, and it took 5. So do we feel comfortable that it's going to take 1 day this time? No, of course not. Let's put a 5 on there. This is going to help you understand how to estimate accurately. If you're a new developer and you're learning to code and you don't have access to this kind of process, you can use your side project again and a task management tool like Trello to mimic this process, which is what students at Parsity do. We use Trello. We break up stories into tasks for their agile projects and some of their personal projects that they'll make. And then they can break up a story, estimate it, and then give us the delivery time of like, okay, this should take about this long. This is going to help you actually understand what it takes to build a side project and complete it. Because when you embark on a side project, it's easy to think, oh, this will take me a month. break it out and see how long will this really take you? How much can you expect to get done in a week? When will this be done? Do you need to cut out some things from this side project? Is this one of those side projects that's going to last for a full year because you've written out so many things that you have no clue how to do? Really, really good way to begin your side project before you even start writing code. Estimate how long it's going to take. One last thing. 99% of the people out there listening to this stuff just won't do it. It's kind of like when you give exercise advice and you say, oh, you should exercise and eat right and, budget your calories and do this thing. And I guarantee you're going to lose weight. Like, I guarantee it. I can guarantee people weight loss 100%. I can guarantee it. If I was at your house making you eat the right food and making you work out on schedule, I could guarantee with 100% confidence and money back that you will get the result you desire if you do what I say. Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's just simple math, right? Same way I can pretty much guarantee you will get a job if you do everything I say and, do all the work at Parsity and you build this and build that. I guarantee it. I 100% guarantee you will get the job. The problem is I'm not in your house making sure you're building the right things, making sure you're doing the work, making sure you're not kind of goofing off or not cheating. I'm not there to make sure you're actually applying to a number of jobs. I'm also not there to guarantee that they can happen within a month, 2 months, 3 months. I don't know. But I can guarantee you will get hired. 100%. I stand by that. People are going to get so mad when they hear that. You can't guarantee that. Yeah, I can. If you do everything I say to do and you apply everywhere I say to apply and do everything I say to do, at some point, you're going to be hired because you have the most important skill, which is the foundation as a software developer. And guess what? You may think that software developers are plentiful and easy to find. Good ones are not. People with a solid foundation, not so easy to find. They're really not, despite what you may see on YouTube. Be that 1%. So when you listen to stuff like this, just take a small step, like create a Trello account, type the questions that I outlined about DevOps, just type them into your computer real quickly or on your phone. And then later on, when you get home, you look at it and say, oh, that's right. That's that thing I was supposed to do. If you take a little bit of action, even if it happens later, if you just do that step right now, it's going to take you so much further because there is a buffer between when you think something and when you action. And if you can decrease that buffer and if you can decrease that gap from thought to action, you're going to get ahead a lot further. As always, I hope you find this stuff helpful. And again, if you want to work with me specifically to prepare for the admissions challenge at Parsity, which I think it's a great deal. I've worked with people from junior to senior for interview prep. We're going to learn a lot, and I'm going to get you set up not only for success with the admissions challenge, but just in general, kind of get you set up for success no matter where you choose to go. So maybe it's Parsity, maybe you go somewhere else. I think you should take advantage of this offer, but hey, I'm kind of biased. Anyway, join Parsity. Don't join Parsity. Think about it, and I'll see you around on the next episode. That'll do it for today's episode of the Develop Yourself podcast. To learn more about becoming a software engineer with us, then check out Parsity.io. If you're not quite ready for that, then jump into our dev30.xyz program, which is 30 days of working on your mindset, habits, and JavaScript skills. Totally worth it. See you next week.